Once upon a time, there was a bean named Green who longed to be plucked from his vine by the Great Decider. The Great Decider was an enormous creature with 5 short tentacles and a head that seemed to go on forever. Green's best friend had already been chosen, and Green desperately wanted to join him in the great beyond. Months passed since they were chosen, and Green, who had been right beside them, grew increasingly impatient. His mom told him to be patient because everyone gets chosen eventually. His grandfather said he just wasn't old enough yet. But when his little sister was chosen, Green decided it must all be random. Frustration gnawed at Green. The Great Decider seemed less like a benefactor and more like a thief, stealing away his loved ones. Green began to think the Great Decider was not a benevolent being at all. He started believing that the Great Decider was a malicious entity that had robbed him of his family and friends. Green vowed that if the Great Decider ever chose him, he would be ready. But how does one prepare for the inevitable? Green felt helpless. He needed support. He talked to others and found a small group of beings who felt the same way. Together, they devised a plan. A prickly outer shell that would hurt the Great Decider if it tried to grab them. One day, Green saw the Great Decider coming, and fueled by a mix of fear and determination, rushed toward it. Green slammed into it, his thorny exterior piercing deep. As the Great Decider recoiled in surprise, Green found himself stuck to it, his heart pounding with both triumph and terror. As the Great Decider moved away, Green felt the world shake. Suddenly, he was free, falling for what seemed like forever before hitting something hard. Panic set in as Green realized he was no longer connected to the vine. He looked around frantically but saw no sign of his home. Green removed what remained of his special armor and surveyed his surroundings. He was lying in something brown that clung to him. Soon the Great Decider descended again, grabbing him and beginning to ascend. Green's heart raced as he rose, noticing a vast area filled with other beings, moving closer and closer until he was dropped in. Who are all these beings and why are they all here? And why is it so hot? Where is all that steam coming from? What is that smell? Green wondered, anxiety tightening his chest. It began to rain. But this rain was strange. It was sometimes wet and slick, and other times it was dry and sticky, causing Green to sneeze. Green started to feel physically different. His hard, tough exterior was getting softer. He even felt himself split across a seam. Fear mingled with exhaustion. He was getting very sleepy, and just before losing consciousness, he thought he was lifted up again and laid out on a porcelain slab with other beings. The image of his little sister lying next to him was the last thing he saw before everything went dark.